Las consonantes, parte dos. So these are the consonants that are quite different from English, or noticeably different from English. So we'll start off with the G, ga, go, gu, like in garganta, throat, gordo, fat, gustar, to please, garganta, gordo, gustar. And you're thinking, well, that's the same g sound that it has in English. Yes, but it also goes he, like in gente, and he, like in giro, giro postal, money order. Gente is people, gente, giro. You don't go ga, ge, gi, go, gu, like that. If you want to make the sound ge or gi, then you have to slide a silent u in the middle there. Now, I don't know why, because as you'll see, we have another way of making the sound he or he, but this is just how the language is. If you have ge, it's going to make the sound he. Gi is he. If you want ge or gi, like in guerra or guitarra, guerra, war, guitarra, guitar, then you need to put in that u that no one is going to pronounce. Then we have the letter H, A, E, I, O, U. Example, hola, hombre. And not to be confused with hombre, we have hambre, hunger. What sound does it make? Why, yes, it's completely silent. The H does nothing. It's just decorative. It's there because of tradition, or to stop a word from being confused with a different word, perhaps. The word hola sounds exactly like the word hola without an H, but hola without an H is a wave, like a wave on the sea. But hola with an H is hi, hello, greetings. Hombre, of course, is man. Don't say hombre. If you say hombre, everyone listening to you will hear that. If you say hambre, everyone will hear that. So say what you mean. Say hombre. Or, if you're hungry, hambre. Notice your vowels are very important. The difference between hombre, man, and hambre, hunger, just one vowel sound. The H, you have to remember to write it when you're writing things out. But it does not matter a bit when you are pronouncing things. It's not there for pronunciation purposes. Then we get to ha, he, he, ho, hu. This letter, jota, is always pronounced like that. Jaime, justo. It doesn't matter what letter comes after it. It's always that sound. Now, when I pronounce the jota, or the he for that matter, for me it sounds very much like an H in English. An H that you're pronouncing, not like the silent H in hour or honor or herb. It sounds like a pronounced H, like in Henry. A Spaniard pronouncing this letter will say Jaime, justo, dibujar. It's a very rough, throaty noise. But for a lot of people, it's a much smoother Jaime, justo, dibujar. I guess I should write dibujar since I used it as an example to draw. Oh, Jaime is a name, justo is just or fair, dibujar is to draw. And it's usually, I think more often than not, that sort of gentle sound, but for many people it'd be dibujar. So, but if that makes your throat hurt, then you don't need to say it that way. The eye, this is not an L, ladies and gentlemen. This is an entirely different letter for all practical purposes. And like the che, it's often in a separate section of the dictionary. So if you see a word starting with double L, don't count on finding it in the L section. It may be there because the Academy decided some decades ago, no, it's not a distinct letter anymore. It's just two L's. But it does not sound like two L's. So to me and to a lot of people, this will sound similar to an Y, similar to a Y. So you have words like llama, lleno, mellizo, lloro, lluvia, millón. Now, One of the caveats, there are several, is that for a lot of Spanish speakers, there's not a difference between a y and a j. So some people will say me llamo, and some people will say me llamo. Some people will say, oh, hay mucha lluvia. Hay mucha lluvia. Es igual. If you do not believe me, go and find someone who grew up speaking Spanish and learned English as an adult, and try to get him or her to make some y or some j sounds. Try to get him to say yellow jello. That's particularly fun. Do you want the green jello or the yellow jello? So, some of them may not be fooled. Some of them will say, give me the lime. I want the lime. But, some of them you can get to say it, and you'll notice that it's very difficult to distinguish. Don't make fun of them because you have sounds as an English speaker that are difficult for you to distinguish. It's just that no one's going to make fun of you until you try and learn Hindi or something where they're different sounds. So for most people, it's going to be a y or a j sound. People from Argentina, Uruguay, it's going to sound like zh or sh. So chama or llama, lleno or lleno, mellizo, michon, lluvia, lloro, choro. Different sound for a different dialect, for a different accent. And then there are those rare people from, I don't know, up in the Andes Mountains, from parts of Spain that will pronounce it lla. Llama, lleno, mellizo, millón, lluvia, lloro. It's like an ly sound. It exists in some dialects, but it's less and less common all the time. The normal sound that you'll hear from this is the same sound that you'll hear from a y. Ya or ja, ye or j, yi or g, yo or jo, you or ju. You'll hear yerba pronounced yerba or yerba. Or for people from Uruguay, yerba or sherba. Yo, maybe yo or yo. It may be yo. Yo soy floricienta. Something like that. Ya or ja, maybe ja or sha. The one difference between the y, the y, and the eye, the double L, is that people who pronounce the double L as lia, llama, are not going to pronounce it the same as the y. They will say ya or ja, yo or jo, yerba or yerba. Ya is already, yo is I, and yerba is like grass or herb. And I don't mean marijuana, I mean like any kind of plant. Yerba buena is mint. So, ña, ñe, ñi, ño, ñu, the ñe, it's not very common at the beginning of words. It can go there, like with the root vegetable ñame. You can call someone a ñoño, a crybaby. But it's much more common in the middle of a word, año. Oh, practice that one, año, 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 año. Because it's year and it's how you talk about ages. So you want to tell someone that you have a certain number of años. You never want to talk to anybody about your ano, your anus. Maybe your gastroenterologist. Talk to him or her about your ano, but no one else wants to hear about it. Niño, little boy, or niña, little girl. It has that ñ sound in there. That ñ sound exists in English. You have canyon, senior, onion. It exists in English. It's just less common, that ñ sound. The letter Q, the Q, only happens in these two combinations, que and ki. That is it. There is nothing else. Que and ki. If you see QUO or QUA, then I guess someone is quoting Latin at you or just can't spell. ¿Qué quieres is the example. ¿Qué quieres? What you want? ¿Qué quieres? The R is a whole bag of trouble for a lot of English speakers. This is the one sound that really does not exist in English, or at least in American English. If you're Welsh or Scottish, you'll probably be fine. If you see it at the beginning of a word, it's always going to be a rolled R, regular. riñones. It's always going to be rolled. The tip of your tongue hits right behind your teeth more than once. It needs to do it more than once. Regular. Riñones. Kidneys. Regular is regular, like you might expect. Riñones, kidneys. If you see R in the middle of a word, you have to ask yourself how many are there. If there's one R, you tap once. Caro. If there's two R's, you have to tap at least twice. Usually it's more than that. Carro. Pera versus perra. And it matters because these are different things. Caro and cara is the adjective expensive. Carro is another word for a car, coche or máquina, or automóvil, or what have you. Pera is a fruit. It's a pear. You might say to someone, oh yeah, for breakfast I ate a pera. I ate a pear. If you say to someone for breakfast I ate a perra, then you've had a very different breakfast experience because you've eaten a dog. They're very different things. So you have to be careful about if you roll your R or if you do not roll your R. Pera, perra, pero, perro, no son iguales. They're not the same thing. So you have to watch out for that. But at the beginning, it's always rolled. Regular. At the end, in theory, you can roll it, but people really only do if they're being like dramatic or fancy. You know, when you start a soccer game, you know, the announcer may say, a jugar, and roll that R on the end. But in general, you don't really need to roll it at the end. Se puede, pero no se necesita. Ba, be, bi, bo, bu. This letter is the same as B grande or B alta. This letter is called B de vaca. And you know if you've seen the other video, but if you haven't, it makes the same sound as what we call in English B. So if you hear a word in Spanish, someone says to you, vete, vete. You don't know if it's spelled like that or if it's spelled like that. Vete, incidentally, is spelled like that, but I misspelled it for like the first, I don't know, year or something. So vete means get on out of here. Vete, go away. But it's exactly the same sound as the other B. Many people cannot spell, so you don't know. For example, there's a joke. A boss says to his secretary, "Hey, schedule a meeting for Friday, viernes," and she says, "Yeah, viernes. Is that spelled with a big B or a little b?" And the boss says, "Yeah, I don't know. Just put the meeting on Monday." No, and the joke is, it doesn't matter if you write for a living like a secretary does, or if you're the highly paid boss, or someone else entirely. You're not going to know, probably. You're not going to remember if it's big B or little b. By the way, Friday is viernes with the little b, because it's the day of Venus. But that's some trivia for another day. X doesn't happen a lot in Spanish. If you see it in the middle of a word, in general, it's going to make that same x sound that it makes in English. If you see existir, okay, that's more of a g sound, but it's going to be the same ks or gz sound that you're used to hearing for an x. Some exceptions do exist. For example, the country of Mexico is usually spelled with an X. You can spell it with a jota. I have seen it on rare occasions spelled Mexico, but it's much less common. Same way for Texas. You can spell it either way. I've seen Texas spelled with a jota much more often, but either way it's pronounced Texas. That's pretty exceptional. In general, if you see an X, it's probably going to be a X sound, but you will also get some anomalies. Don't be surprised if you're looking at a Mexican name, or especially a Mexican place name, and it sounds like what you, as an English speaker, hear as an SH sound. We don't have sh in most of the dialects of Spanish. So when the Spaniards arrived in Mexico and they heard sh sounds, they put an X. They did the same thing you do in algebra when you don't know what something is. You put an X, you say, I'll go back and solve for it later. They never went to go back and solve for it. So you will see X stand in for other things, but in general, if you see it in a word, it's going to make a similar sound to English. Two exceptions to watch out for: Tejas and Tejano. Mexico, Mexicano are usually spelled with an X, can be with a J. The letter Z, Sa, So, Su, for some reason you can't have ZE or ZI. It's just not done. I don't know why. If you want to make a se or a C sound, you use the C for that, from closer to the beginning of the alphabet. And just like CE or CI, I pronounce this the same as an S. Sa, so, su. Zorro, zafacón, zumbador. Zorro, fox, and the folk hero, but a fox. Zafacón, garbage can or wastebasket. Zumbador is, I guess, really anything that buzzes, but I've mostly seen it for colibríes, for hummingbird, zumbador. But to me, it's the same as an S sound. To a Spaniard, it would be zumbador, zafacón, zorro. To them, it's the theta sound. The same thing as if you have the CE, cerro, cero, zero, or cierro, I close something. To a Spaniard, those are all that sound, th. To people from the western side of the Atlantic, and also even parts of Spain, in general, it's going to be zorro, zafacón, zumbador, cerro, cero, cierro. So it's not something to worry about, but it is not zorro or zafacón or zumbador. That Z sound, that buzzing Z sound that you're so used to making from English, essentially doesn't exist in Spanish except by accident. If you have an S or an S sound next to a letter where you vibrate your vocal cords, then it may happen accidentally. But none of the letters in and of themselves make that Z sound. Sa, so, su. That's the sound that this letter makes. All right, now with this, you basically know how to pronounce everything that you see in Spanish. So far, I haven't talked about the accent marks. So you might not know, wait a minute, is it going to be zumbador, zumbador, or zumbador? So we'll tackle that in another lesson. But if you do see an accent mark, you know that is where the stress goes in a word. Otherwise, you'll have to hear it pronounced. It's always going to go either on the last syllable or the next to the last syllable. But again, we'll talk about that in another lesson. Hasta la próxima.